Breaking news has detonated across the internet, and trust you do not want to swipe past this chaos. What just unfolded has left fans frozen, shook the hip-hop world to its core, and lit up the streets of New York like a five-alarm scandal. Papoose, yes, the Papoose, Mr. Loyalty himself. The ride-or-die king married to Remy Ma has just been arrested after a full-blown, no-holds-barred brawl that's allegedly tied to a hidden baby. And one savage betrayal. Now pause, don't you dare chalk this up as just another messy celebrity lovers quarrel. No. This ain't drama, it's a damn war. According to sources close to the fire, the altercation exploded so hard that the cops had to intervene. Eyewitnesses say fists flew. Voices hit glass-shattering levels, and furniture got wrecked, all sparked by a bombshell rumor that Remy might be hiding a baby, who may not be Papoose's. Yep, you heard me, insiders say Papoose, who stood by Remy through hell and back, uncovered some jaw-dropping receipts, messages, images, and more that pushed him to confront her in a showdown so wild it ended in pure mayhem. But here's the kicker, he had no clue the cameras were rolling. Now the footage is leaking at lightning speed and the internet, it's in flames. Some are backing Remy, others are side-eyeing her every step. Meanwhile, Papoose's mugshot is everywhere, circulating faster than a diss track. And fans are struggling to grasp how hip-hop's most solid couple just collapsed in the most public and violent way possible. But the million-dollar question remains, who's the real baby daddy? And what pushed the usually calm, collected Papoose to snap like this? Stay locked in, because what's coming next will knock you flat. We're diving straight into the betrayal, the chaos, and the moment Papoose was hauled off in cuffs. Grab your popcorn, the saga's only just begun. It was a night like any other, or so they thought. Quiet, almost too quiet. One of those NYC nights heavy with secrets, and for Remy Ma and Papoose, those secrets were ready to explode. A storm no one clocked was coming just hit hard. They'd just come back from a low-key industry dinner, Remy Ma being celebrated for her legendary run in hip-hop, and Papoose right there by her side all night, smiling, clapping, proud as ever. On the outside, picture-perfect vibes. Cameras flashing, couples gushing over their unbreakable bond, fans whispering, "That's real love right there." But inside, behind that composed grin, Papoose was boiling, heart pounding with a suspicion he couldn't shake. It started with one DM, just one, sent to his private Instagram by some faceless account, no name, no pic, just one haunting line. Ever wonder why Remy's been so distant? Ask her who the baby's real father is. He laughed it off at first. Just another troll or so, he thought. Until the second message landed, this time, a blurry photo. Time-stamped, a newborn baby, cradled by a man who was definitely not Papoose. He didn't storm it, not yet. He sat with it, let it simmer, reread the message 100 times in the dark, while every strange moment from the past few months looped in his head. The late-night vanishing acts, the canceled dates, the muffled crying he pretended not to hear behind the bathroom door. That night, post-event, Remy kicked off her heels, let out a tired sigh in their bedroom, and Papoose just stood there. "You tired?" he asked. Voice eerily steady. "Yeah," she mumbled, not even glancing up. "That event drained me." Then cold, thick silence until he dropped his phone on the bed, screen still glowing. That blurred baby pic, that same DM wide open. "What's this?" he asked. Remy stared blankly, no shock, no twitch, just one deadpan look before letting out a scoff. "You really believing some faceless internet hater over me?" But Papoose wasn't having it, not tonight. "I don't care what they said," he growled. "I want to know what you're hiding." And that, right there, was when the perfect picture finally cracked. Because truth is, Remy had been moving funny for a while now. And this was just the beginning. In public, she stayed fierce and flawless, unbothered, untouchable. But behind those closed doors, Remy Ma was slipping, cold, distant, ducking real conversations with Papoose, vanishing for hours with half-baked excuses, whispering on bathroom calls like she was plotting something classified. It was during one of those so-called late studio nights that she ran into DeMarco, an old flame turned industry rep with a flashy smirk, and the kind of swagger you should never trust. The spark, immediate, not full-blown romantic at first, but just messy enough to blur all the wrong lines. Then boom, one night, too many drinks, too little judgment, and everything spun out. A choice made in the heat of impulse, one she'd spent months silently choking on. Fast forward a few weeks, the test turns positive, pregnant, and panic, go. It kicked in fast. Papoose had been begging for another child for years. They'd even talked IVF. How was she supposed to admit that she didn't even know if it was his? So she didn't, she lied. Said it was a miracle. Divine timing. A blessing straight from the sky. And poor, loyal, ride-or-die Papoose, he believed it. Every time he kissed that belly. Every time he flooded the gram with those sappy dream-come-true posts. Every time he told the world, "I'm the luckiest man alive." Remy? She cracked a little more inside. Back in that bedroom with the phone blowing on the bed and tension suffocating the air. Answer me, Papoose said. Voice breaking. Is that baby mine? Remy rose slow, stiff, almost staring. Not tonight, answer me, he shouted. Louder, trembling, and then it happened. He grabbed their wedding photo framed, perfect. Sacred, and shattered it against the floor. Remy flinched. What is wrong with you? But Papoose was done holding it in. Years of devotion, love, restraint exploding all at once. You made me look like a damn fool. He yelled. I defended you, loved you, lifted you up, and this is how you repay me, behind my back. Papoose barked, the words slicing the air. Tears welled up in Remy's eyes. You don't know the full story. She murmured, then tell me. He roared, tell me the whole damn truth. Just then, the baby monitor let out a static buzz. A soft, tiny cry echoed across the room. Papoose's face twisted in agony. Don't, he whispered, voice shaking. Don't tell me that child ain't mine. Remy stayed silent, shivering. Speechless, and in that split second, Papoose knew, and just like that, the streets got loud. In the world of hip-hop, news doesn't walk at sprints by sunrise. The blogs had it all. Screenshots, wild speculation, and flaming headlines. Remy Ma caught in secret baby scandal. Papoose drops cryptic Instagram bomb. Paradise in peril. But nobody was ready for the chaos that hit next. That very afternoon, Remy was spotted at a family cookout in the Bronx, visibly shaken. Papoose, nowhere. Eyewitnesses said she spent the whole time pacing, clutching her phone like it owed her answers, tears brimming. And then boom, around 6:45 p.m., all hell broke loose in the driveway of a mutual friend's home. Papoose showed up unannounced, and he didn't come solo. He brought security, his brother, and allegedly even a private investigator who had located the man believed to be the real baby. Daddy, DeMarco. An argument exploded loud, wild and nasty. Accusations flying like fists, and then it happened. Actual fists to fly. Neighbors reported screams, shattered glass, bodies rushing to break it up. One witness claimed she saw Remy screaming, "Please stop," as Papoose and DeMarco collided in a full-on street brawl. By the time the cops pulled up, Papoose's shirt was ripped, his lip busted, and DeMarco was being held back by three full-grown men. Cops moved fast, statements were flying. Stories clashed, but one thing was dead clear. Papoose had officially snapped, and now he was being dragged off in cuffs, burning with rage. He was shoved into the squad car as camera flashes lit. Out from every direction, fans shouting his name, others frozen in pure disbelief. Papoose sat in the back seat of that NYPD cruiser, staring out at the crowd, and then he broke. I gave her everything, everything, he shouted, slammed the door, snapped shut, the sirens flared up, and the flashing lights disappeared down that Bronx street like a broken fairy tale speeding into the night. But the real storm? It was only just waking up. With Papoose officially under arrest, the air shifted, tense, electric, dangerous. The silence left in the chaos's wake felt louder than the screaming had. Neighbors murmured in hushed horror, bloggers scrambled for the scoop, and paparazzi were still glued to their cameras, buzzing from the arrest of hip-hop's so-called gold standard for loyalty. Remy Ma stood nearby, frozen near the driveway, her makeup smeared, her body shaking, not just from the fight, but from the brutal realization this wasn't just about a man in handcuffs. This was her marriage collapsing, her reputation combusting, her career unraveling in real time while the world watched through a lens. The sirens might have faded, but the chaos was only just getting started, especially when the fight footage hit the internet. Clips of the brawl, grainy, shaky, echoing with screams, started going viral across social platforms. And it didn't matter that the angles were blurry or the audio barely clear. It was enough to spark outrage, enough to stir up fan wars, enough to send trolls, stins, and couch detectives diving headfirst into Remy and Papoose's unraveling love life. Screenshots, conspiracy tweets, messy voiceovers. Twitter trended within minutes, and the internet? It was on fire within the hour. Hashtags like hashtag Remy Ma baby scandal, hashtag PAPOOSE arrested, and hashtag who is the father started trending like wildfire. Major urban blogs and gossip YouTube channels dove in headfirst, throwing out timelines nobody asked for, constructed with the overconfidence of armchair detectives. The storyline spinning out of control. Papoose had allegedly uncovered that Remy Ma birthed a child that wasn't his, and after months of burying the pain, he finally broke. They painted him as a tragic hero, the loyal king who waited 6 years while she did time, now shattered by betrayal. Public reaction, all over the place. Some fans were gutted for Papoose, spotlighting his devotion, his patience, the way he carried himself with silent strength, and how it all got torched by one jaw-dropping act of infidelity and lies. Others, not so sympathetic, they slammed the violence, saying no level of heartbreak ever justifies throwing hands, and just like that, social media turned into a messy battlefield over morality, manhood, and the price of being famous. While the internet screamed, Papoose sat in a freezing cell, wrists cuffed, knuckles bruised, drowning in pain that was both physical and soul-deep. No cameras there, no takes, no filters. Just silence and a growing, hollow ache. Had everything he stood for been a lie? Was all that loyalty destroyed by a single, selfish decision made behind his back? Meanwhile, Remy Ma went ghost, hiding out at her sister's place miles from the noise, but peace not even close. Her phone buzzed nonstop, some from friends, many pretending to be journalists disguised as cousins. She didn't answer a single one, just sat there in silence, replaying the last 9 months like a cursed montage. The guilt was crushing. What started as one reckless night had morphed into a monster, wild, ruthless, and out of her control. When she first saw that pregnancy test, instant panic. The timing was wrong, the situation worse. And the fact that she didn't even know who the father was? That truth haunted her. There was no graceful exit, so she made a choice, one lie, one cover-up, and now everything was in ruins. The media even dug into her past, unearthing old interviews like forgotten landmines, ready to explode. Clips of Remy Ma once preaching about loyalty, love, and stand by your man energy were now being flipped on their heads. Bloggers re-edited them into cruel contrasts, cutting straight from her speeches to footage of Papoose being shoved into a cop car in handcuffs. The irony, not just bitter, it was viral overnight. Her loyal fan base split like glass. People who once worshipped her started side-eyeing everything: her values, her marriage, even her identity as a mother. She wasn't just being criticized, she was on full-blown trial in the digital court of public opinion, with no real shot to defend herself. And it wasn't just fans, the industry, they joined the pile-on too. Rappers, producers, podcast hosts, even ex-collaborators started tossing shade. Cryptic tweets, slick podcast jabs, sly side comments. Everyone suddenly had something to say. But even while the dragging intensified, one big mystery kept the internet from letting it go. The baby. No official statement, no photo, no name, no confirmation. That's when the blog started digging. They found a familiar name, DeMarco, low-key R&B artist Remy had once worked with during a late-night recording session. Suddenly, he was front and center in the mess. A blurry photo surfaced of him cradling a baby. And while the timestamps weren't confirmed, they suspiciously lined up with the timeline of Remy's pregnancy. The gossip detonated. According to unverified sources, DeMarco had a short-lived studio fling with Remy while Papoose was away on tour. And yes, those same insiders claimed Remy tried to bury the whole thing. But once that baby arrived and the questions started piling up, the cover-up started crumbling, and the truth, it refused to stay buried. Details started slipping through the cracks, and word on the curb, Papoose had been silently piecing things together for weeks. That Bronx barbecue explosion, not a spontaneous meltdown, it was a setup, calculated and simmering. Could anyone prove it? No. But did it matter? Not even a little. The damage had already scorched everything. Later that night, after spending hours behind bars, Papoose was granted bail. Cameras swarmed the precinct like hungry vultures. As he walked out, silent and shielded, the chaos was deafening, flashes blinding, reporters barking over one another, publicists scrambling, fans holding phones like trophies just to capture a broken man in real time. He didn't wave, didn't speak. He just walked quiet, heavy, dragging behind him the weight of 100 viral headlines and 1,000 shattered dreams. He didn't go home. He vanished into a hotel room miles from the madness. There alone, he stared at his reflection, a stranger staring back. This wasn't the composed man who used to stand tall beside Remy on red carpets. This wasn't the fighter who held their marriage together in public. This was someone gutted, disillusioned, numb. And Remy, she wasn't locked up, but emotionally, she was in a cage of her own. No charges filed. No cops at her door, but the shame, the backlash, the betrayal carved into Papoose's face. That was his own prison. No PR stunt, no damage control, no exclusive interview could spin this into gold. This wasn't about her image, this was about the wreckage of a life she had built, brick by brick, only to see it implode in a single night. And the pain? It wasn't just public, it was deeply, savagely private. The silence of a baby's laughter now missing from their home, the mornings they used to share, now gone for good. And the thousands of messages pouring in, none of love, only judgment, only heartbreak. She hadn't just lost control, she'd lost the one man who once waited years just to love her right. He was the man who once waited years for her during her darkest hour, and now he had vanished into a darkness of his own, one that Remy Ma created. Across social media, the uproar kept boiling over. Fans demanded answers. TikTok detectives spun wild theories. Some accused both of chasing clout, Others questioned whether any of that fairy tale love was even real to begin with. Then, out of nowhere, Papoose dropped a bomb on blacked-out Instagram story, no caption. No sound, just darkness. It hung there for hours like a silent scream. Fans swarmed the comments. Theorists cracked their knuckles. Was it heartbreak, a digital goodbye? Or a warning that something way bigger was about to drop? 12 hours later, the next post landed. White text on black background, I'm speaking my truth, live tonight. No filter, and that was it, the internet froze. Everyone wanted to hear what Papoose had to say after the arrest, after the betrayal. After the silence he kept for years, the loyal husband, the quiet supporter, the calm stormed out now. That man was stepping up raw, broken, and unfiltered. The fall had already happened, but the reckoning, it was just getting started by 9 p.m. Eastern. Millions were glued to one place, Papoose's Instagram, the anticipation, insane. Blogs cleared their front pages, influencers canceled lives. Verified celebs dropped cryptic comments. This wasn't just a lie, this was Judgment Day. Not just another scandal but the implosion of hip-hop royalty. Papoose and Remy Ma weren't just a couple, they were the standard. Loyalty, strength, resilience. The blueprint of black love until it all went up in flames. The headlines had already shaken the internet. But now the fantasy was officially shattered and everyone was watching to see just how deep the wreckage ran. By the time the live stream began, over 800,000 people had tuned in and that number was climbing like wildfire. Papoose appeared alone, sitting in a dimly lit room. No glam, no filters. No smoke and mirrors, just a broken man at a breaking point, finally ready to let the world peek behind the curtain. What followed? Raw, measured, ruthlessly honest. Papoose didn't yell, didn't spiral. He spoke with a heavy, deliberate tone that made every word feel like a gut punch. He started with gratitude, thanking the fans who had stood by him through everything. Then no stalling. He walked straight into the storm, not just the arrest, but the months that led up to it. He laid it bare, the emotional distance, the dodging, the red flags he chose to ignore because he wanted their love story to be real. He shared how he believed that love could survive anything. Prison, fame, public pressure. But betrayal? That he never saw coming, not from inside the home he built with his whole heart. Papoose didn't drop names, he didn't flash receipts. But the way he spoke made it crystal clear he'd found out the truth. He touched on the baby, the doubts, the moment everything came crashing down. This wasn't just about lost trust, it was about lost identity. For a man who crafted his entire brand around loyalty and honor, that truth didn't just break. His heart had cracked the foundation of who he thought he was, and then came the accountability. He admitted the fight spiraled, that emotions exploded, that he should have walked away. But he made one thing brutally clear. One thing was made crystal clear: Papoose's rage wasn't just about infidelity. It was about years of loyalty being spit on with deception. His words hit hard not because he played the victim or the villain, but because he didn't. He simply stood in the ruins of the life he built and told the truth. A man torn apart by the one person he swore would never betray him. The comment section exploded. Viewers were sobbing, some dragged Remy, others begged for a second chance. And then there were the silent ones, just rows of broken heart emojis, flooding the screen. But just when the lift felt like it was winding down, Papoose delivered the death blow. He revealed that he'd quietly taken a DNA test weeks earlier, found it unopened in a drawer, acting on a gut feeling he couldn't ignore. The results came in 2 days before the fight, and they confirmed what he feared all along: the child wasn't biologically his. With that, he ended the live. No outro, no tears, no dramatic fade out, just silence, and within seconds, the internet went nuclear. Blogs posted article after article, dissecting his every word. Headlines screamed betrayal, heartbreak, deception. Analysts, influencers, love gurus, they all jumped in. Even psychologists weighed in, breaking down trauma, trust, and emotional collapse. Old celebrity couples were compared. Fans formed digital picket lines. Hashtags like #justice for PAPOOSE lit up timelines. The backlash against Remy Ma, immediate, unforgiving. Her follower count nosedived by 600,000 in a single day. Her music was bombarded with brutal comments. Even her old tweets about loyalty and truth were dug up and weaponized by critics, now calling her a fraud. It wasn't just about cheating. It was about the betrayal of an image, a story the world had emotionally invested in. And while everything burned down around her, Remy said nothing. No tweet, no post, no statement. Her team went mute. But in the age of social media, silence doesn't protect, it provokes. And the public, they took that silence and turned it into a guilty scream. The silence, yeah. Fans took that as a full-blown confession. And insiders wasted no time feeding the fire, claiming Remy's own family allegedly knew, and that DeMarco had even visited the hospital after the birth. Meanwhile, Papoose? He'd been holding it together in silence for weeks, planning a quiet separation until that cookout clash blew everything sky high before he could shield himself. But while the world obsessively rewatched every second of the brawl, something deeper was stirring behind the scenes. That viral fight, it hadn't even been legally processed yet. But now that it was everywhere online, the pressure on law enforcement was building fast. Liars from both camps stepped in. No one walked away with serious injuries, but the threat of lawsuits was very real. Papoose, once a background figure who barely dipped into industry drama, had suddenly become the centerpiece of a full-on morality war. Conversations sparked across the culture: male pain, emotional betrayal, gender, double standards. Nothing was off limits. Panel shows, radio hosts, even cheery morning talk shows weighed in. His live stream got chopped up and broadcast on national TV, then recycled into viral TikTok audios for emotional edits about heartbreak and being played. And while the internet devoured every frame, the business side started moving too. Brands quietly ghosted Remy Ma, partnerships paused, bookings canceled, collaborations dead silent. Artists who once sang her praises started backing away fast, terrified of catching any of the smoke. Meanwhile, Papoose, the man who never craved fame, found himself dragged into center stage. Not by ambition, by survival. Interview requests, documentary deals, book offers, all pouring in. The world wasn't just watching, they were rewriting his legacy in real time. Though Papoose turned down most of the offers flooding in, he agreed to one major televised interview, and fans were on edge, holding their breath for what he promised would be the entire truth. But just when the firestorm felt like it had reached its peak, boom, another twist, and this time, the leak didn't come from Papoose's camp. Nope, this one came from inside Remy's own circle. A blurry photo surfaced of a second child, this one about 2 or 3 years old. The caption claimed this child also belonged to DeMarco, and that Remy Ma had known the connection all along. The blogs lost their damn minds. The narrative veered into uncharted territory. Had Remy Ma been living a double life this whole time? Was a recent baby just the final straw in a pile of hidden betrayals? The internet lost it. Any supporters holding out hope for a reconciliation? Gone. Even her day one started demanding accountability. There was no escape. Every blink, every silence, every movement analyzed, reposted, ripped apart. Still, Remy stayed silent. Her team dropped a cold, clinical press statement. At this time, Reminisce Mackie has no comment and asks for privacy. The privacy, that ship had sailed. While the public applauded Papoose for his calm and composure, behind the scenes he was falling apart. Friends close to him said he'd stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and shut everyone out. The strength he showed on camera, it took everything out of him. And though the world praised him as stoic, solid, strong, he was drowning. He reportedly checked into a private wellness retreat upstate, desperate for space, for air, for anything that felt normal. For a man who had spent years building his identity around love, loyalty, and family, losing it all in one brutal moment wasn't just a scandal. It was a collapse of self, a personal annihilation. Some insiders hinted that Papoose was preparing for a full-blown divorce. Others whispered that he might even fight for custody of the child he'd been raising as his own. Nothing was officially confirmed, but the rumors alone were enough to keep the flames of scandal raging. And while Remy Ma stayed publicly mute, those closest to her painted a different picture behind the scenes. Reportedly, she was wrecked, barely talking, emotionally paralyzed by the weight of what had unraveled. And it wasn't just the PR disaster, it was the raw truth. She had lost Papoose, the one man who stood by her through every chapter, even the ones no one else would read. People close to her said she wanted to explain it all privately, that the DNA results had confirmed her deepest fear, and she never meant for any of this to go public. But fear, shame, and the breakneck speed of internet chaos devoured any chance she had to make it right. Now, the damage felt irreversible, and as she sat in silence, watching her entire world crumble on live streams and timelines, she reportedly told a friend, "I've got no one left to blame but myself." The scandal had officially hit fever pitch, but one question still echoed louder than the headlines. Would Remy Ma ever respond? Fans demanded it. Brands needed it. The world waited. But the story stayed painfully one-sided, a saga of betrayal and heartbreak, told only through the shattered voice of Papoose. Remy, still silent. And the baby, the only innocent soul at the heart of all this, had no voice in the storm. Silence had become Remy Ma's only move. Whether by fear or frozen regret, it was the path she chose. But as days passed, her absence stopped feeling mysterious and started feeling damning. Every hour she stayed quiet, the world took it as confirmation. The once fearless woman who commanded stages and owned every mic, now reduced to a shadow, one not hiding from the spotlight, but from her own truth. not from the media. Remy Ma was hiding from her own truth, locked inside her private residence. Far from the cameras and the chaos, she barely moved. Her phone stayed on silent, constantly lighting up with notifications she refused to open. Messages from friends, calls from family, threats from strangers, it all blurred into the same deafening static. One time she accidentally scrolled and there it was. Her own face smeared across dozens of videos, thumbnails, TikToks, each one slicing through her like a blade. Meanwhile, across town, Papoose's silence after the live stream became a void. The media scrambled to fill the rumors, non-stop, divorce, filings, blocking all contact with Remy, whispers that he was seeking custody of the child, even knowing it wasn't biologically his because of the bond he already formed. None of it confirmed, but none of it had to be. In this mess, facts took a backseat to feelings. Public reaction shifted from outrage to obsession. People weren't just watching anymore, they were dissecting. Deep dives, timeline breakdowns, TikTok conspiracy threads, forensic-level baby photo comparisons trying to match noses to possible fathers. On digital platforms, Papoose became the broken hero of modern love and Remy Ma, the warning label, a walking cautionary tale. And then just when things couldn't possibly escalate further, a new video dropped. No flashy production, no verified celeb, just a low-res, shaky vertical clip posted from a random account, barely scraping followers, filmed from a car window. But what it showed set the entire internet on fire within minutes. It was clear, the footage was from that day, the barbecue. The day Papoose got arrested, but this angle caught what no one else had. A moment that had been lost in the chaos. In the background, behind all the shouting and screaming, stood Remy Ma, not crying, not stopping the fight but recording it, yep, phone in hand, capturing every second, and just like that, the internet imploded. Blogs lit up with questions. Did Remy know this was coming? Did she set it up? Was she protecting herself or building a case against Papoose? Was the entire blow-up less of an accident and more of a setup? The clip's virality crushed every previous leak. The outrage surged again. Even Remy's last defenders, those clinging to hope, started going radio silent. Because trust? Once it's broken, there's no coming back, and just like that, Remy Ma crossed the line from controversial to condemned. But wait, that wasn't the only bomb the video dropped. At the very end, in a quiet, barely audible whisper near the camera, someone muttered a name. Not loud, not angry, just one word: DeMarco. The same name that had been circling in rumors, blogs, TikTok captions for weeks, and though it sounded casual, that whisper hit like a sledgehammer. Within hours, DeMarco's socials vanished. His name trended on every platform, his family got doxxed. The mystery man, the faceless ghost in Remy's scandal, was now dead center in the spotlight, and the drama got thicker. Former friends claimed DeMarco had been bragging for months. Screenshots leaked him at parties, holding a child that looked suspiciously familiar. Then came the tweet, an old one, 2 years buried, suddenly pinned. On every gossip thread, I changed the DNA game forever, real or not, irrelevant. The internet had decided it was. Amid the wreckage, something finally snapped inside Remy. No PR team, no press statement, she didn't call a soul. Just sat in that same bedroom where she had once opened the DNA results, and this time, she opened her camera app. No ring light, no glam, just her, ready to face what was left. No makeup, no filters, just her face tired, stripped down, and worn raw by public judgment. Remy Ma hit record. She didn't drop it on her main feed, no. She tucked it quietly into her story. A short, 2-minute video, no caption, no disclaimers. She didn't defend herself, didn't deny the betrayal, didn't name a single name. She just admitted what everyone already knew. That things had spiraled beyond repair. That a man she once loved was now shattered. And that an innocent child had been caught in the crossfire of grown-up mistakes. Her voice trembled, her face twitched. She didn't sound like someone clinging to hope. She sounded like someone who knew it was over, not a pause, not a break, but a full-blown ending. The story vanished in 24 hours, but the damage had already been done. Fans split again. Some saw pain and vulnerability. Others called it calculated, too little, way too late. The internet went into forensic mode, breaking down every blink, every word, arguing whether this was redemption or just reputation. Rehab. Papoose, meanwhile, stayed ice cold. Sources close to him said he didn't even watch it. He'd made his peace not with Remy, but with the version of their life he believed in. He had finally realized that loyalty, it's not something you give blindly. It has to be earned. Protected, fought for. The public wanted more. Another live, another mic drop moment. But Papoose gave them silence, focused, distant, absent from the noise. But front and center in the hearts of fans who now saw him as a tragic icon, the man who gave too much and got burned for it. As for Remy, She vanished again, no appearances, no statements. Her PR team started issuing cold, recycled responses. Collaborators backed away fast in an industry built on branding. She wasn't just scandalous, she was toxic, not because she cheated but because she wrecked a fantasy the world had once believed in. And just when the chaos felt like it might finally cool down, boom. A court document leaked, a custody petition. Papoose was filing for full parental rights. And with that one move, he proved he had meant every word. That court filing said it all. Despite knowing the truth, despite the lies, the betrayal, the humiliation, Papoose still saw that child as his own. He wanted to protect her, raise her, keep her far from the chaos and deception that had exploded around her like shrapnel. And instantly, the public shifted, the heartbreak deepened. The story was no longer just about a man betrayed, it was about a man choosing to rise from the wreckage and hold tight to the only innocent piece left. Comment sections were flooded with love. Podcasts dubbed him the definition of a real one. Fans launched campaigns demanding that brands honor him. That media stop overlooking the kind of loyalty he displayed, loyalty that shouldn't be erased by someone else's mess. Meanwhile, over on Remy's side, petitions surfaced too, but they weren't filled with support. They were demands, calls for truth, for clarity, for Remy to say something, anything. Confirm or deny DeMarco's role. Own up to the damage. But she stayed silent, leaving nothing but more speculation, more outrage, and more fallout. By the end of that week, what started as one explosive altercation had become the biggest relationship scandal hip-hop had seen in years. Not because of the fists, not even because of the cheating, but because the world had believed in them. The love story had felt real, untouchable. And watching that illusion shatter felt personal. The romance was dead. But the story, it was far from over. The internet had moved fast, but the emotional bruises weren't fading anytime soon. Papoose's custody petition didn't just change the narrative, it redefined it. He wasn't just the man who'd been betrayed. He was the man who chose to father a child that wasn't his, because loyalty isn't a hashtag. It's a choice, and in a world full of ego and abandonment, that choice made him legendary. In a world ruled by ego and abandonment, Papoose's decision hit different. This wasn't just loyalty, it was sacrifice. Gut-wrenching, brutal, noble sacrifice. The internet moved quick, sure, but the wounds it left behind, not so fast. That full custody petition changed everything. Papoose wasn't just the guy who got cheated on, he became the man who still stepped up for a child that wasn't even biologically his. His choice cut through the noise. It wasn't about image, it was about duty. In an era full of ghosting, clout chasing, and running from responsibility, he stood firm. The public praised him loudly, but the media, they knew one huge question still hovered like a storm cloud. Where was the truth? Because that silence around Remy Ma had become deafening. Her 2-minute video gave emotion, sure, but no real answers, no names, no receipts, no apology. Just broken energy and vague words that felt like everything and nothing. But even silence has an expiration date, and then boom. Late Monday night, a new leak dropped. Not a video, not a tweet, not a headline, a voicemail. Handed to a gossip podcast by a source close to both camps, and within hours, it was everywhere. The audio raw, crackling, shaking with tension featured Remy Ma, allegedly speaking to her publicist, her voice, a cocktail of rage and surrender. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't defend herself. What she did do was detonate the last piece of the fantasy. She admitted the affair, not with tears, not with shame, just stated it. Like someone who was done carrying the weight, she spoke of months lost in confusion, trying to do the right thing and only digging deeper. And when she mentioned Papoose, she said he didn't deserve any of it, that every time she looked at him, she saw everything she wasn't. And the internet, it cracked again, not because it was scandalous, but because it was real, raw, undeniable. And this time, no one could pretend anymore. No more denying it. The rumors were dead, the fairy tale was buried. The story had transformed into cold, brutal fact. Remy's support system, fading fast. Even the fans who used to preach forgiveness couldn't find the words anymore. Her betrayal wasn't just a personal collapse, it had become a shared heartbreak. And that silence, it wasn't soulful or mysterious, it was calculated. Now, the backlash had turned from fierce to unforgiving. But what no one saw coming, Papoose's next move, just days after the voicemail leak, he posted one image, no caption. Just a pair of tiny baby shoes sitting next to a single piece of paper. But when fans zoomed in on that paper, boom. A court-stamped document confirming temporary full custody granted to Papoose. The comments exploded, millions of reactions. Some were stunned, some cried. But everyone felt it. He hadn't just talked, he'd acted. While the internet argued in circles, Papoose made one choice: protect the child no matter what. And the industry took notice. A list artist tweeted their love, podcast invites, TV special pitches. Exclusive interviews came flying in. Brands that once looked the other way now showed respect. But Papoose turned it all down. He didn't want clout. He didn't want revenge. He wanted peace. Meanwhile, Remy Ma was spiraling. Her endorsements frozen. Her streams dropped, collabs gone, venues quietly cancelled. And those ride-or-die friends who once hyped her rise silent. But the worst part, the part that stung deeper than cancelled checks or headlines, her child gone from her daily life, not by law, but by pain. She wasn't blocked, she wasn't banned, but the emotional wall between her and Papoose was solid granite, and now, her daughter's safety, love, and routine lived with the man she hurt the most. The media tried to squeeze more juice, hinting at sequel scandals, chasing voicemails, pressuring ex-friends to spill tea. But the story had hit its final beat. The public, exhausted from the storm, began to quietly close the chapter. Slowly, the public began to step back. What was left behind wasn't noise, it was silence. The kind that follows a storm, not peaceful, just heavy, reflective. In the weeks that followed, Papoose vanished from the spotlight completely. No updates, no lives. He walked away from social media altogether. His final post stayed pinned. Those tiny baby shoes untouched, and fans, they flooded the comments. Some poured out thanks. Others shared their own heartbreaks. Many just left quiet messages, praying for his healing, for his peace. And Remy Ma, she resurfaced months later. No stage, no red carpet, just a charity event for single mothers in the Bronx. No glam, no chains, just a plain black hoodie and a face that had clearly lived through hell. A journalist dared to ask, "What did you learn from all of this?" And Remy, she didn't spin, didn't cry. She gave just a few raw words, all of it.